Hello everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. Let's set slow mode to 4 seconds. What do you think? Welcome, welcome everyone. I did get a haircut, but I'm also wearing a hat, so I'm not sure how you could tell. There is a Bob Ross in the background. Good eye. It's gonna let you all get in here for a moment. Just 1 minute or two. Bear with us. Oh, I do have, or did have, a scene for showing you the VLC window, but that's in another scene set, so I gotta change it over. That's okay. I'll do this some other time. People do call me Leo occasionally. It's rare, though. How are you all? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have some interesting things to talk about this evening. Well, it's evening for me. It might not be evening for you. Also, I'm not sure that I got the camera working, so we have probably about another 20 minutes before the camera automatically turns off. So when that happens, I'll turn it back on and just stick around and the stream will pick back up, I think. So, favorite ice cream flavor is usually some kind of like mocha or peanut butter chocolate chip kind of thing. All right, 15 seconds and we'll get started. Hello everyone, I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and tonight I am here to talk about the latest filings in the Imagos versus Alex Mauer case. It's been a unique case. It has been, an interesting ride, and it's not over yet. There are still some things to do. But very simply speaking, there has been no response to our complaint by defendant Alex Mauer, and so that means that very technically speaking, Imagos wins the case by default. Now, it's not automatic. We have to ask the court for the default. We then have to ask the court to enter the default as a default judgment as well, which is a second step to the process. And assuming all of this goes well, there's nothing really to get in the way of the case then being completely over and Imagos and Don Thacker walking away with a complete win. The only things that could happen from here to really upset that would be if there was some exceptional circumstance, if there was some low chance or unlikely circumstance that there's, I don't know, court papers still in the mail that were somehow postmarked on Monday but didn't get to the court even today. Or if Alex turned out to have been mentally incompetent this whole time or something. But none of that was presented to the judge by her side, and she had now July, August, and September to present those arguments, whatever arguments she wanted to make. She had all the chance to do that, so she didn't, and that's unfortunately her loss. So what has transpired? Well, we know that we filed a lawsuit, that I filed a lawsuit on behalf of Imagos and Don Thacker back on June 30th of 2017, this year, and we had asked the judge to prevent Alex from sending any more takedown notices or issuing any more threats. And the judge met with us and Alex twice. One time she had counsel, a lawyer. Other time she had no lawyer. She was there with her father. But the point is, she was there, and she appeared, which means that she knew that there was something in court, and she participated in the court hearing. The judge even gave deadlines based upon her input, saying that she needed more time to get a lawyer, etc. And she has chosen not to use those opportunities. Thank you for the $5 Canadian from the Native Lover. Pew, pew, pew. Thank goodness you're on tonight. Just learned about monetarist policies. Some good news to cheer me up. I don't know. I haven't heard about that one yet. I'm looking forward to looking at that. This has been the thing I've been doing all day. And Padre Speaks, Canadian $2. Thank you. Rules for allowing the late response. We're gonna go over that. Just bear with me for a moment. So up till now, I've been preparing for whatever the response would be. I've been looking into the claims and things at issue and trying to figure out how best I should spend my client's money. And one of the possibilities always was that Alex might not respond. However, she did respond to our initial complaint, and she showed up to court, and she said that she needed time to get a lawyer and make a response. So I sort of thought that there would be a response. I thought maybe it would be a gibberish response, or it would be an incomplete response, or it would be an inadequate response, an ineffective response, in other words, not in accordance with law. And I honestly thought that I'd be making a motion for judgment on the pleadings, or going to some kind of deposition, and then making some kind of motion for summary judgment. So what are all these things that can happen to the end of a case? How can a plaintiff dispose of a case without going to trial? Well, there are actually four ways to really dispose of a case. If the defendant does not respond, it is called default. If the defendant responds with something that is not a proper response, then you make a motion for judgment on the pleadings. And if the defendant responds with something that is a proper response, but still doesn't necessarily rise to a level that there would need to be a trial, then you make a motion for summary judgment. And each of these are different and are used at different times and require different levels of evidence and proof. Default is arguably one of the easiest ways for a plaintiff to win their case, as we don't have to go through any adversarial proceedings now. We filed a complaint against Alex. Alex could have defended against that complaint. Alex could have filed counterclaims for free, and those counterclaims could have been that she thinks she has some sort of contract dispute, but she didn't present any of those arguments. And in my humble opinion, that means that none of her arguments were worthwhile to her, were worth going to court and arguing against. Maybe she felt it would just be more embarrassment, or she would lose, or it would just be a waste of her time, or maybe she knew all along that this wasn't a productive effort, and maybe her acts were in bad faith the whole time, as many of us have suspected. So, what did I file? Let's go over this, and then we'll go back to the question about what the ways out of a default judgment are. They are not easy. So I filed something very, very simple under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 55A. Actually, let me pull up Firefox, and we'll go to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 55A first, and this will maybe make some kind of sense why it was done this way and not a different way. So Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 55 is for a default and for a default judgment. These are two separate sections of Rule 55, and yours truly had not filed for a default ever, because I've never had a defendant not answer a complaint. So I had to look this up and do my research before filing. So Rule 55A is for entering a default when a party against whom a judgment for affirmative relief is sought has failed to plead or otherwise defend, and that failure is shown by affidavit or otherwise, the clerk must enter the party's default. Then there's this separate thing, which is Part B, which says that a default judgment may be entered by the clerk. If the plaintiff's claim is for a sum certain, it can be entered automatically, and if it is for a sum of money that must be calculated, then it is there's to be a hearing where the judge will determine the amount of money damages. We are asking for a combination of money damages and injunctive relief, so we'll probably be able to get a default judgment on the injunctive relief without the hearing, and then the monetary damages might require a hearing, or maybe we'll be able to show our monetary damages clearly enough that the judge will just grant them to us. That's currently what we're researching now, is how we're going to show monetary damages. So, knowing that, what I have filed here is what's called the entry of default, the request for entry of default. It appearing that the complaint was filed and summons issued on June 30th, that the summons and complaint were duly served, that the first amended complaint was filed and summons issued on July 7th, that they were served on July 7th as well, that defendant appeared twice, the defendant had actual notice of the deadline set, that no answer has been filed. Therefore, upon request of the plaintiff, default is hereby entered against the defendant, Alex Maurer. Now, this is unsigned. Why is this unsigned? Well, this is what we would call a proposed order. But Leonard French, it doesn't say proposed order on it. It says entry of default. Well, when the judge issues the proposed order, he doesn't want it to say proposed order on it. So you actually use the name of the order and you leave it unsigned, and you basically write the order as you want the judge, or clerk in this case, to sign it. So this is what I want the clerk to sign. Now, in order to support my request for the signing of this thing, I have made a formal request, which, kind of funny, looks almost exactly the same. It says it's a request for the entry of default, it says plaintiff hereby requests, and then it lists the exact same facts, except this last part, it says that we request the entry of a default. And then, if you remembered the rule, it said that it had to be supported by an affidavit. So I have also filed an affidavit, which, again, totally coincidentally, looks exactly like the other two things. So when you're looking at these and you see that they all look the same, that's the reason why, is they needed to be done in 3 parts. One is the request to the clerk, one is my affidavit in support, and one is the order that I want to issue. So this is, again, almost the exact same thing. The only thing I have added is that defendant is not a juvenile, in the military, or incompetent. And although I know we feel that defendant may have some issues, defendant has presented no argument in court that she is mentally incompetent to stand trial or otherwise answer the matter. So what are the things that could possibly be done, then, to undo this? Well, let's go back to Firefox and see what we can find. One sec. So it says down here, Part C, Rule 55, Part C, setting aside a default judgment. The court may set aside an entry of default for good cause, and it may set aside a default judgment under Rule 60B. So let's go to Rule 60. Rule 60B. Grounds for relief from a final judgment, order, or proceeding. On a motion or just terms, the court may relieve a party or its legal representative from a final judgment, order, or proceeding for the following reasons. So these would be the reasons why Alex could get out of a default judgment, and why I don't think she's going to. Mistake, inadvertence, surprise, or excusable neglect. Well, I'm not sure that anyone's made any mistakes here. There's been no surprise to Alex. We've not inadvertently anything, and certainly I don't think any neglect would be excusable. Newly discovered evidence that would not have been discovered by reasonable diligence. Well, I don't know what newly discovered evidence there would be. Fraud on the part of plaintiff. There's been no fraud on the part of plaintiff. Not only has there been no fraud, but defendant had 3 months to make an argument if she thought there was. That the judgment is void, which would be under the rules for why a judgment would not be allowable. None of that applies here. That the judgment has been satisfied. Well, we're not looking actually for... Well, we are looking for monetary damages, but we're not primarily looking for monetary damages. We're primarily looking for a declaration, a declaratory judgment and finding that Alex does not own Imagos copyrights and has no right to Imagos copyrights and has made DMCA misrepresentations. That's the primary thing I'm after. I think we're also going to make sure we pursue monetary damages in principle and on paper, and then that will give my client the ability later to decide for themselves whether they want to execute those judgments against Alex's property now or sometime in the future. Maybe if Alex gets back on her feet and is making regular money, then and who knows, we actually don't really know what Alex's true situation is. It was just presented to us like she was a fairly unstable individual who probably didn't have very much income or property, was probably living off the support of her parents and maybe some support from others, I'm not sure. And that was about it. We didn't really know much about her personal life, and I didn't really need or want to beyond the natural compassion I had for someone who's obviously not behaving in a stable and useful and helpful way for anybody. So those are the reasons, and I don't think that they're very good reasons. I don't think Alex is going to get out of this really under any circumstances. I'm not too terribly worried about her responding by saying that there's some kind of need for a undoing of the default. I'm guessing at this point that she is just going to disappear. We're not going to hear from her again, I hope, and that this whole thing will just go away. And if there's some kind of future anything, I'm not even sure. I don't even know why there would need to be a future anything beyond attempting to collect on the default judgment if there is something to collect on. That's all. Who knows? Alex could win the lottery, and then that would be something that we would be able to get paid from. And Imagos and Don have definitely suffered. Like suffering monetarily is one thing. This has done a lot of damage to Imagos and to Don, not just monetarily. It'd be one thing if she was able to interrupt his ability to make games and then, he just got right back to it and everything was fine. But this wasn't just an interruption. This was downright interference. This was downright a malicious attempt to hurt the company and his game as much as possible. And you've seen Don on his streams, you've seen me talk about Don, you've seen Don once or twice on my stream. This is not an individual who has done anything to deserve this. In fact, quite the opposite. This seems like one of us. It really honestly seems like Don is one of the children of the internet, just like us, who just love to create and participate in the community and make things for us. And it makes him happy and it makes us happy, and it's really a win-win-win situation for everyone. So it's really weird that Alex wanted to destroy that as much as possible. That's like wanting to go back in time and destroying what was it? Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa. Who painted the most Mona Lisa? It would be like that, or even worse. Crap! I've forgotten his name. The Dutch artist who cut off his ear, Van Gogh. Could you imagine if someone wanted to go back in time and screw up Van Gogh's ability to paint at all? He killed himself, so it's horrible that we didn't get even more Van Gogh paintings, but you get what I'm getting at here. He wasn't doing anything. Don is creating a video game, trying to make a dark and terrible world a nicer place for us all to live and play games in. And Alex is just attacking and attacking and attacking, trying to take down the company, like the whole company, and being successful at it. Imagos pretty much had to put it, when it doesn't work like this. Like, this is, Don is a person, and Lindsay is a person, and they run a company, but they are just small independent developers. They can't create the entire project themselves, and also, you know, live. So it's a team effort. They hire developers, they hire they work with financing partners, they work with publishing partners and distribution partners, and there are many people involved. Even the smallest independent games, I'm assuming there are dozens of people involved. And if you can imagine, if you are one of these outside financiers or investors or developers, and then there starts this turmoil with one of the companies, not your company, but rather one of your people you're sponsoring or investing in, there starts to be this turmoil, or you know, she brought gender and transgender issues into the workplace and tried to make a minor dispute over whether she had completed her work under her contract. She tried to turn it into a major politically correct blow-up. That's just coercion or extortion or some kind of blackmail or something. That's just cruel and unusual. So imagine that you're one of these financing partners or a publisher or developer or investor, and you've got other projects. You may have other big projects. You may have other very big public projects, and you might not want any of those to be tainted with an association with the company that's having trouble with Alex. And that's horrible, because now Don hasn't done anything wrong, and he's got to deal with Alex, and then he's got this extra layer of now his support people are leaving him, his financing people are leaving him, his publishing people are leaving him, not in like mean, dispirited, divisive ways, but just the practicality of, hey, you know, we don't want to be associated with this person who's gone off the rails, Alex Maurer, and started bringing transgender issues into the workplace and started defaming Don's business, saying that he wasn't running his business properly. It was a really terrible situation, and yet Alex herself didn't have any of the experience to be able to be making these statements, didn't know what the inside facts were, didn't appear to even be interested in what the actual facts were before making these accusations, just seemed to be interested in making accusations and getting attention. And I had really hoped that there was more to it than that, and that there would be some sort of meaningful response from her, and we would get some kind of we would have some kind of meaningful back and forth that would at least tell us what the problem was. This way, we're gonna, you know, it's easier, I guess, but it's not going to be satisfying the way it would have been if we had all the answers. Instead, it's satisfying in the sense that a person who was causing trouble seems to have decided to stop causing trouble and is going to allow us to just move on with our lives, which is pretty great. I can't complain about that. I honestly think that's probably the best thing that could have happened for the case, other than maybe having not happened in the first place, would be that she doesn't respond and there's a default. So, questions? From here. So what happens after this? So I filed all of this. The judge and the clerk have not reviewed it or signed it yet. I'm anticipating it will be somewhere between hours and days before the matter is, before the default is entered. When the default is entered, which is what I brought up on the screen and what we reviewed, that is only the first step of a two-step process, and then I have to also show the judge what our request for relief is. We'll be asking for a declaratory judgment saying that we own the copyrights. We'll be asking for a judgment that Alex misrepresented in her DMCA claims. We'll be asking for a judgment that she defamed Don's business, and we'll be asking for the judge to determine monetary damages. I'm going to do some research into our fourth claim about coercion and extortion. That might actually be more difficult to prove than it's worth. It's not that it's going to be hard to prove so much as it might be hard to enforce, and I'd rather have my client with a solid judgment than with a judgment that can be challenged. So I'm going to be doing my research on that, and hopefully by the end of the week or maybe early next week we'll have the motion for default judgment in, and then that is the point where when the judge rules on the default judgment, that will be the final judgment and should be the final conclusion of the litigation in the case. And anything that would be left after that would be executing on the default judgment, which means putting the default judgment into effect at the county level against her county in Pennsylvania where she lives, so that if she acquires any property or has any way of paying back the judgment, that it shows up on her credit report and it shows up with the local county court as an unpaid judgment. So it's been a very interesting ride. A few of you have had questions about what's happening with the money and all that was donated. Well, we raised about $18,000+. Thank you all very, very much. I think I was teary-eyed the last time we talked about the amount of money that you guys raised. So I'm just absolutely floored. What has happened with that money, for the most part, at the simplest level, and trying not to reveal any confidential information without going over it with my client first, 3% is taken by the credit card companies for processing. 5% is taken by GoFundMe. We spent a bit of it on expenses in the case, and about another half of it has been spent so far on my time and effort in the case, leaving about half of the money left over. So I'll still have a bunch of it to go through, and after that I'm supposed to fly to Seattle, and then sometime after that we'll donate the last of the money to PAC's Child Play, Penny Arcade's Child's Play. No promises on what the exact amount will be or anything like that. There are still some expenses for me. There are still some expenses for Don, and we're very, very grateful for your donations and support. The project was already stalled, and what attorney is going to work for free? I mean, you guys saw what I went through. Do you really think I would want to do something like this for free? Not that the cause isn't great, but I mean, geez, at the end of the day, I gotta be able to eat, and I would definitely like to have some satisfaction in my heart that I worked and earned, right? I mean, that's not a bad thing. So I really appreciate that you guys have supported us that way. In my, not defense, but in my, just to answer any of the questions about the amounts of money, I was working for a half rate, $125 an hour, and we agreed to give the money to Penny Arcade's Child's Play, whatever was left over. So thank you. Thank you very much for all of that. I see some of you are still donating, and that's very much appreciated. Please understand that that money is going to go to a combination of Don's legal expenses, me, and Penny Arcade's Child's Play. So what's left there is we don't need the $25,000. I should probably cap that at some point. And I really appreciate it, and I'll stop going on about it. I'm just absolutely floored that you guys came together. Look, if I could brag for a moment, I don't even mean to brag. I just mean look at this case for a moment, and look at how horribly it could have gone, and how right it sort of has gone so far. Knock on wood. Sorry if that was super loud. The situation was spiraling out of control in June. Alex was starting to issue takedown notices by the dozens, and something had to be done. Poopoy, thank you for the $10. And I was in a position, mostly the right place at the right time. Alex is in my county, or is not my county, but in my district. I'm a copyright attorney. I had free time or I had things that I could move around to make free time to work on the case. We got the case filed quickly. We got the temporary restraining order, which is something that is so rare that my local district court didn't even know how to do one, how to take the bond for one, how to enter one. It was really special to, not that the circumstances happened, but that we were able to use the tools. The tools exist, and we were able to use them so effectively. We got the TRO. The TRO pretty much shut down Alex's ability to issue DMCA takedowns and interfere with the case. And apparently that was enough to discourage Alex from really doing much else, because there were a few more waves of, DMCA notices, and then it died off. I guess the energy and the fame just kind of wore out. I know that there are a lot of you who were affected by it, and I know that we all wanted, every single one of us, to be able to sue Alex. But I don't think that would have really done any good, and I think we made the right decision by not getting dozens of people to join the case, and by not trying to hold Alex in contempt by, threadbare allegations of contempt, and instead that we focused on the core of the issues and stayed true to the message, kind of managed the crisis instead of reacting or overreacting to it. And it just seems to have really been a win-win-win-win situation. I got a bunch of experience, I got some exposure, Don's game is back on Steam, the publishers and the developers seem to be ready to come back and work on the game as soon as there's some motion on the default judgment, as soon as the judge gives us a final judgment. Heck, even now I'm counseling Don to show his people these things that are happening and explain that we've basically won the case at this point, and the rest is procedure and technicality. So it's been a very interesting ride. I hesitate to want to do something like this again. I love my copyright law. I'll do copyright law all day, but this was a very stressful case. I would much rather, if I had to do a case like this again, I would much rather be involved at the outset when the very first problems occurred, and I'd much rather have a full budget instead of trying to cost control everything, because there were probably about a dozen things I was supposed to be doing during the past 2 months that we really couldn't do without burning through all of the money. And if we burned through all of the money and then Alex got an attorney and then responded to the complaint with a full and proper response, then I would be truly screwed, because I would need about double the money from you. So instead I had to plan to have money left over at this point just in case there was a full response. And since there wasn't a full response, we now have a budget to continue to finish the case and donate some, hopefully, and make a difference for Don, who has also spent a crap ton of the company's and his personal money as well. So I guess questions at this point. I did say that before and then didn't take any questions, so I'm sorry, I'm a jerk. But let me open up this chat window here. Ah, that's a little too large. Poopoy, thank you for the $10. I got you before. I didn't see the one above you, so I apologize to whoever I missed above you. Yeah, Alex got attention, but I'm not sure what result. So when you get attention, you normally want to be able to, say, capitalize on that attention, or springboard that attention into more attention, or more something, and there really hasn't been that. Although I don't really care about Alex anymore now. I'm a compassionate individual, and I care in the sense that I don't want to see her further spiral down, but I'd much rather if I just never hear about her again. I think that would be great for anything. Okay, so there are some questions. Any plans for a Leonard pilot in Star Mazer, says Drew Farrow. Yes, there are plans, as from what I understand, for me to do some voice acting and for them to put a Leonard pilot into Star Mazer. So that would be cool. Someone asks, any chance for a class action? Tom Franco asks. Any plans for a class action? Well, see, the problem with the class action isn't that we couldn't do a class action, especially now that Imagos has more or less been able to prove their case. It was Max Tech, it was Star Mazer, or Max Mech, it was Star Mazer, Starrrmazer, and the current release of that franchise is Star Mazer DSP. I won't even try to use acronyms for DSP because that's part of the fun of it. So Star Mazer DSP is out on Steam, and Star Mazer DSP is one of the, let me see if I can put this correctly, is one of the game sort of modes or themes that you will see in Star Mazer, but Star Mazer DSP is actually a separate title that is sort of a tech release. It's not a tech release. It has its own place in the canon of the Star Mazer universe, but it is being used as more of a tech release. Star Mazer, the big Kickstarter project, is actually a larger work that has point-and-click elements as well as shoot-'em-up elements, story and funny and comedy and everything, and it's supposed to be really great, but that's not released yet, and we only have preview footage of that. Instead, Star Mazer DSP uses the same mechanics in the shoot-'em-up section, so if you want to get a feel for how Star Mazer will feel, Star Mazer DSP has this shoot-'em-up section. And it is really fun, and I'll give you a warning, it's really hard. It is a really hard side-scrolling shoot-'em-up game, so don't get upset. It's meant to be that way. There's a reason why it's hard, and as you get better pilots and earn more money, it becomes more and more fun. And that's also what the roguelite elements are, that as you keep dying, you keep losing everything, so you have to keep living to get better and better and better pilots and advance further and further in the game. So it's actually a really, really cool game, and I highly recommend you check it out. But they are separate titles. Star Mazer DSP is what's out now. It is not what's been backed by Kickstarter, but just so there's no confusion, it's also not like a separate thing from the Kickstarter. It's the tech that's going to be used in Star Mazer proper, which has been backed by the Kickstarter. I do see Sid Alpha in chat. Hello, Sid Alpha. How are you? And everyone else. Just because it's Sid Alpha, jeez. Everyone else is just as special as Sid Alpha. Thank you, Captain, for the Star Mazer link. It's in the chat right now. Did Alex's Twitter get hacked? You might think so, based on the weird stuff that's been posted. Oh, and I even forgot that in the middle of this thing there was like a third party that came in and started issuing takedowns, and then issued a big apology for their takedowns. It was weird. This was such a weird case. So, I'm surprised my camera is actually still on. This is good. Thank you, Canon, for not turning it off after 30 minutes like it's been. Yes, Sid, I love your videos as well. Yes, I have heard that I will be another gold pilot or whatever in the game. We'll see, though. We'll see. It has to actually happen, and who knows. But we'll see. I'll definitely be pursuing it on my end and hoping that that happens. Yes, there is no H3H3 update, Jinzo. Sorry. Good question, though. No, there's no John Oliver update either. It's been remanded back to West Virginia court, and that's where I've lost track of it. I've been focused on this and real life. Okay, so what happens with me now? How about Leonard French? Leonard French is a copyright attorney and a YouTube content creator who, for the past 3 months, has relied on this case to, be my major source of business. And You know, some of you, I'm sure, have noticed that my videos have not been as numerous since the Imagos case got filed. So I'm hoping, not even hoping, I'm promising, I'm just flat out promising. I swear, I cross my heart, Scout's honor, that I will have a regular schedule of videos. I think I'd like to commit to a regular schedule of 3 to 4 recorded or live stream videos a week, plus the Sunday morning live streams. I've really enjoyed doing the Sunday morning live streams for the past 5 or 6 weeks that we've been doing them, and I'm definitely going to have to continue doing those. It feels really natural for me to talk about something on Sunday morning since I went to church for so many years. But I do recognize that that I and my community would like to see videos about other topics other than the Alex Mauer stuff. So I'm going to commit and promise to you now on stream in front of the, how many thousands? There are 1,100 of you watching now. I'm going to commit to 3 to 4 videos a week. We'll call it 3 to 5 if you're going to count the live stream on Sunday. Probably like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday release schedule, or maybe a Monday, Wednesday, Friday release schedule and a optional 4th video. I think that would be a good production schedule. I've noticed that YouTube seems to like that production schedule as far as its analytics and its reporting and its recommendations, and it's you know, it's putting my video out there when it thinks that there's going to be further content that people will want to see. So I think it's going to be another win-win situation, and the channel will just continue to grow if I continue to make content for you on a regular basis. You can sue me for false advertising. Yes, Sargon suit, Harmony Gold update. My nose is Polish. Not that I care about ethnicity. My hat looks made in China. Let's find out. My hat is from Cap America, made in China. My hat is a Hickok 45 hat. Also a wonderful YouTuber. I highly recommend, if you like guns, that you go over and check out his channel where he reviews various firearms and plinks at his backyard range in what I would consider very productive and healthy videos. He's not about gung-ho and shoot 'em up because, you know, guns are cool. He's just a shooter. I mean, I am too. I like to shoot. I don't care for hunting. I'm not condemning anyone who hunts, but I'm also not a hunter myself. A 22 Plinkster is good too, yeah. And I like Taufledermaus. It's also fun to watch them shoot so many weird rounds and loads out of their shotguns. I'm starting 3-gun competition, and I'm going to be putting my videos from those things up on my personal channel. Forgotten Weapons. Ian is a really cool guy. I love him. If anything, actually, Ian's influenced my style a little bit because he's so calm and presents such a wonderful, like he's so interesting even though he's so calm. Like normally, like, calm is boring, right? But he's just like, he's Ian. So I honestly find myself trying to emulate him a little bit when I do my videos. So yep, Demolition Ranch is another fun one. We can go over all of them. So, hello all, says Christian Rodriguez. Just got here. What did I miss in a brief summary? Brief summary. Alex Mauer did not respond to the Imagos complaint, to the complaint that I filed on behalf of Imagos and Don Thacker against Alex. If you recall, she was issuing dozens of DMCA takedown notices, all related to our Star Mazer video game and her music that was in the video game. We now will have a piece of paper that says we own the music that she created for the video game, and she will not be able to legally take down our videos without us being able to take her to court for contempt, basically, of what will be a permanent injunction, permanent restraining order, basically. So that's that's what's happened. She has not responded, and we have filed for default. Default is the first step of the two-part default judgment process, and I'll wait for the court to enter default first, and we'll be preparing our default judgment motion, and I'll do another one of these live streams at that time. Hibby the Ink Fox gives $5. Thank you very much. What's going on with me and TB? I like you both and want you to be cool. We are cool. We talked about it. We worked it out. It was during the Charlottesville thing. I was very angry about the Charlottesville thing. He was very angry about the Charlottesville thing. I think he's still going through treatment as well, so that's definitely not a light treatment that he's going through either. So it's water under the bridge at this point. I like Total Biscuit. I want him and I to be friends, or at least friendly and be cool, as you say, honey bunny. I am cool, honey buddy, so I hope that he is also cool, honey bunny. Okay. You want to have a solid doggo show without Leonard. Well, why not me? I mean, I can be a little less, like, you know, it doesn't have to be about me. It could be about the dogs. Ducta PN Dreams. I don't know what that is. Duct tape. Oh my god. Duct Tape and Dreams. Thank you for the $11.17. Wow. 1 cent for each viewer. Thanks for this question. There were a list of ways to get out of default. Can you give you an example of valid ways to get out of a default judgment? Yeah, sort of. If Alex had been in a mental institution this entire time, let's say she walked out of court on July 19th and was in a mental institution, maybe the judge could say that she has good cause to have a chance to respond now. But since she was in court, and since she participated in the setting of the August 21st and July 25th dates, I don't know that a judge is going to believe that she didn't know when the dates were and that she didn't know she had to respond by then. So I think even then she gets shut down. Most of the time, when you hear about a default judgment being opened, which is the terminology we use, open the default judgment, it's because there wasn't good service, that the defendant had not received a copy of the complaint, a copy of the claims against them, the summons with a notice to respond, or that pleading was somehow deficient in some way and didn't put them on notice in the legal sense that they were the recipient of a claim. But we have all that bypassed here. Alex showed up to court. How would she have shown up to court unless she had notice? And what could she have? What could she have? I don't see any way she could argue that she didn't know what the deadline was when she was there in court, standing in front of the judge, interacting. I hardly talked. I almost never had to say anything to the judge. Maybe one sentence here or there. It was Alex that did all the talking to the judge, so I honestly don't see any reason why she could reopen this judgment. Gwen Patton gives $2 and says, let's go shooting sometime. Absolutely, Gwen. If you are anywhere near Eastern Pennsylvania, I'll be happy to go shooting with you. Even if you don't own any firearms, we can shoot mine and my ammo. I love to take people to the range. I've even considering making it a Patreon perk to have people choose an adventure with Leonard French, which can be like go-kart driving or shooting or something like that. You know, assuming you can get yourself here or myself to you and have something to do like that. Supervillain321 gives $20. Can you look up the word humble brag on stream? I think I know what it means, but I'll sure look it up for you. How about that for $20? I think I can do that. Let's. We're going to type it in here so I don't accidentally bring up any of my Humble brag. An ostensibly modest or self-deprecating statement whose actual purpose is to draw attention to something of which one is proud. Well, yes, this whole stream has been a bit of a humble brag. If that's your point, I'm not denying it. We are very proud. I am extremely proud of myself. I'm extremely proud of my client and our side of the case. That we honestly, there was nothing on our side that wasn't as my client said it was, and everything seems to have gone about as well as I could have hoped from the moment that I was involved. That is a bit of a humble brag. I'm extremely proud, and I'm very sorry if that offends anyone, but I'm extremely proud and relieved that this has played out the way it has. I'm also, you may remember that at one point there were threats, and at one point someone donated money for a bulletproof vest, and that I bought and wore a bulletproof and stab-proof vest to court. Those were not fun things to have to do. When I was a kid, I always thought, oh, it'd be cool to buy a bulletproof vest. Gung-ho, hey. It is not fun when you're actually wondering who's going to shoot you or stab you and when. And, or if the whole thing's just a hoax and you're overreacting and looking like a fool. It is not fun, and it seriously affected me mentally. And it actually did affect my ability and definitely affected my client's ability to do their job. And I found that it affected my ability to do my job. I was so preoccupied with the threats for a few days that I definitely didn't get all the work done on the case that needed to be done for those few days or a week or two there. So if the threats were more or less effective, and that time was actually kind of scary and stressful for me and not at all cool, I ended up doing more self-defense training and taking many steps, including being less active on social media because I didn't want to give people a clue of where I was. So maybe I would tell people where I had been, but I'm not going to tell people where I'm going before I get there. Hopefully I can return to some kind of normalcy now. The King Cow Show gives $2. Thank you very much. Appreciated. So, okay, we've been on for 52 minutes now. I guess the camera's working. That's great. We can hang out here for a little while if you like, but I think most of you would probably like to get back to doing more fun things than talking to me about a legal case. I personally would like to do more fun things than talking about a legal case. Although this is enjoyable for me, my Tuesday nights after choir practice are usually playing video games, usually PUBG with my friends. So, oh, Kate is reminding. Thank you, Kate. Of course, Kate. Of course. Let's see some of our doggy friends, and we'll end the stream with some nice, relaxing dog pets. Ilsa. Hi. How are you? Let me we're gonna use this camera this time. Hi, Ilsa, can you come hop? Ilsa, hop. I'm gonna take you hop. Nope. I'm gonna pull on you. Come here. Come here. You're my dog. I know you don't like to be up here. I know you don't. You wanna come hop? Okay, you can come hop. He's the one who hogs my lap. This is the dog that hogs my lap. Eramal, thank you very much for the Norwegian kroner, 50. I'd love to hang out with you, Mr. French. I would love to hang out with you, Eramal. Anytime. Rah. Can I check Discord really fast? I'm not even sure if I'm logged into Discord. Yeah, hang on. Nope, that was VLC. And I guess I can turn some music on, too. Let me put my... There we go. Hello, my boy. Hello, my boy. Christina says she's taking an art history capstone course at Temple, and the professor made us watch our entire video series on the H3H3 case. That is amazing, Christina. Wow. It is a strange world we live in, right? Very, very new world we live in. That's cool. Was that the thing you wanted me to see, Captain? Do I do legal consultations? I do, but mostly on copyright law and YouTube these days. I very often find that people have questions about very local things like divorces or traffic tickets or landlord-tenant issues or contract disputes, and there are definitely more qualified attorneys for those things. Maybe I'm more accessible than some. That I'll definitely concede, but I'm not always the best resource for things other than copyright law. Ooh, so many good sodas up in the Seattle area. I like sodas. I like to sample sodas, especially like the sugary sodas without caffeine and high fructose corn syrup. So that's actually interesting. I have to check that out. Would I be willing to go on a road course with Ginger Squatch? I plan to run a 650 horsepower Honda Civic. Yeah, I'd be willing to go on a road course. Are you talking about like trying to do like an illegal race, or are you talking about doing like a Nürburgring run or something like that? So let me know. Nico likes to see himself on the, he's looking at himself up on the monitor. Brian Skeen, do I have a PhD in copyright law? No. What lawyers get is called a Juris Doctor. It's a PhD in all law, and it is not comprehensive in the sense that you do not know every law. It is comprehensive in the sense that you are aware of what you should know and shouldn't know. So when you get out of law school, you should know and be very scared of making mistakes on things you don't know. So you should understand to do the research, your due diligence, we call it, in order to avoid the risks from not knowing things. There's a soda outlet store on 202 near the PA-Delaware border that has an amazing selection. I was recently down in that area. I'll have to check it out next time I go down there. I was down in the area of the Maryland Renaissance Fair. I was actually at the Maryland Renaissance Fair, and two of you found me, and well, I don't think you were trying to find me, but you saw me and you said, "Hi, Leonard," and I was like, "Who are you?" And then I realized that these were fans. So that was really really cool to run into some fans at the Maryland Renaissance Fair. So, so thank you all for joining. I think I'm going to end the stream in just a moment here. So if there are any last-minute questions, please go ahead and ask. Otherwise, I think I will see you in my next video. I am still working on the editing of the basics of copyright for YouTube content creators, and that's the video that was sponsored by New Sensei. That should be out later this week. I just have to get about 10 hours to edit it, and I have not been able to get all of the time I need yet for that. So I'll hug my dog for you. He's such a good boy. We went running around the dog park today for about half an hour, but it was very hot, and they were starting to get really, really hot, so I decided to cut that short. So we'll probably go to the stream tomorrow, and maybe I'll post some video of them playing around in the stream, in the creek. So, thank you, everyone, for joining me. I'll put this up here a little bit. There we go. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. I want to thank all of my supporters. I have some supporters which are scrolling on the LED panel up there, and then I have some $50 plus supporters who are Joshua Meinsicker, John Steele, John Cripps, Nate Beck, Lydia Collinson, Weston Loney. They are supporting at the $50 level. Everyone who was on that panel, and that will be in the description below, are supporting at the $5 level. And I have other supporters. You don't have to support at the $5 level. You can support at any level. I think it's $1 and above. And every little bit helps. So I really appreciate all of you and all of your support. You're all very wonderful people, and I look forward to whatever our next adventures together are, which hopefully will just be a bunch of stories. I am committing myself, I think, tomorrow. I'm committing myself to a rather expensive but comprehensive news service that should give me a little bit of an edge on more than just copyright law stories. I've been using the same service for copyright law for the past year, and I'm very impressed with them, Law 360. And I think I'm going to switch over to a comprehensive plan tomorrow, which will, there'll be other things I can talk about rather than just copyright and intellectual property law. So maybe we'll see the channel expand as I get access to some well-written news stories that I can then do my own research on, because I don't copy their stories. What I do is I read their stories and use their resources and things to create my own story and then present that, which is pretty much how I think news reporting is going these days. Anyway, so I'm rambling. Thank you all very much for joining me. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney, and I will see you in my next video. And on stream, yeah. Wow, that was good. I stream on Twitch as well, so I don't know if I'll be streaming tonight as it's 11:39 and it's been a very long day and I did not sleep well last night, but if you want to check me out on Twitch, I am Leonard French on Twitch as well. So thank you all for joining me. I'm Leonard French, your favorite copyright attorney. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in my next video. Say goodbye to Nico.